welcome to Naughton May session in Rambling House.
My heart summer morn that stole my heart away, that bright summer's day in the valley of in the festive hall by the star-washed shore, oh, ever my restless spirit lies. My love, oh my love, shall I ne'er see you more? Oh my life, never upright. By night and by day, I ever pray, while lonely my life flows on, just to see the flag unroll and my true love to enfold in the valley of Stevenage, in the valley of
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we would like to welcome you to, this is probably our fifth or sixth year now doing these Rambling House sessions, and it's our fourth one, which is falling around the time of May Eve. But due to circumstances beyond my control, the Riordan boys from Granada felt that they wanted to watch the Eurovision Song Contest on Saturday night next, so we had to move it. So, we're here on Tuesday night instead.
We've waited for
So while you're all listening, we tend to have quite a busy weekend ahead of us. And anybody who talks too much out of place, the hatred is very big and not full. On next Sunday at 2 o'clock here, there is a walk through the hillside. 2 o'clock. It'll be 2:45 actually, because Dunne did a recording recently, and that will be broadcast, I understand, on Sunday next at 2 o'clock. So it wouldn't look right to be holding a radio transistor to your ear walking through Knockfearn Hill. So we will be moving off at about 2:45 from here on Sunday. And then on Sunday night, it's a trip off down to Kerry, Tralee for a Rambling House session again, with many of those who will be taking part here tonight taking part in that. And then on Monday night, it's Jimmy Reedy again at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So that's the weekend. And tonight, as I said, tonight is one of our smaller nights. At least it was planned to be quite a small, ordinary night. We didn't intend having a video, and then some people said you should, some people said you shouldn't, but we have. And it is, we like to do them without videos and without the lights, but on the other hand, then it's nice also to record the people, and especially in time to come, that it will be appreciated when the videos are there. So that basically was the deciding factor, I suppose, that we have a video here tonight. Sometimes we do them without a video, but then on the other hand, when the night is over and the night is gone, you do not have a video to look back at. And while we're talking about videos, I had the pleasure of attending a function on Friday night last in Drumcolliher, organised by 4 students in Drumcolliher Vocational School. I think 1 or 2 of them are sitting on the stairs. If you can turn your machine, George, towards the stairs. And it was the pupils of Drumcolliher Vocational School. Maura Shine is the lady who did Batty, and I had to wash my face and brush my nose after watching her for the night. She did such an excellent job. It was a wonderful night in Drumcolliher. They had 5 or 6 old people, older people, and the lady, and it was very well handled, well recorded, and very interesting, and a nice mix. And the schoolhouse in Drumcolliher was very tasty decorated. So it's nice to see it happening there, and I'm quite sure that I know they have the ability to do many more of them, and I hope they will. So welcome. Now another man who was around as long as myself, but smokes a bit more, and Pat will play a few polkas. Pat McNamara, who plays with, what's his name again? Paige Murray. Paige Murray, so Pat will give you a few tunes.
Whereby the Mulcair banks I strayed 'neath the lovely flowers in June. The birds were singing merrily and the meadows in full bloom. When on my boyhood days I think, sure the tears come rolling down. For it's in the morning I must leave you, dear old Newport town. How lonely is the pigeon's coo, and sad the blackbird sings. For loud and high the thrushes call on a bright long summer's day, where I'll sit down and cry my fill till the floods come rushing down, and dashes through the ivy bridge in dear old Newport town. Tipperary's hills and dells farewell, from you I now must part. I'll never again roam Column's Grove, sure the thought still breaks my heart. When I think of the hurling and the dance and Keeper Submit Brown, and the days I fished in the turn hole in dear old Newport town. Farewell a while, sweet Gertna, know where I oft times chased the hare. To Carn Hills and Carnawell and Coney's mountain bare, to sweet Clare Glens and flowery dells, where I oft time walked up and down with the boys and the girls who now are far from dear old Newport town. Adieu, adieu, sweet Newport town, once more I'll say adieu. For many's the happy hour I spent with comrades loyal and true. And if God spares me, I'll return where the Mulcair waters flow. And when I'll die, my bones will lie in dear old Ballymacure.
We usually get quite concerned when Paddy Stokes goes to say anything about here. 'Tis something rude, he said the last time we had him. So tonight he was quite helpful indeed. So, and Phelan with his last Tuesday night recording in Cork, Fremont for the County Sound as she was doing an exam. So we're delighted once again to be able to relate it, and got top place in the exam and is now moving on to a 4 years performance course. So congratulations, and once again. Now another one of our own lads from our own committee here is John Riordan. So it's a song many of you will have heard before, but as we've got a lot of people tonight here who hasn't been here previously, and I suppose it's our own local song on Knockfearn itself. So it's my own Limerick home, John O'Riordan.
Counties may boast of their rich lands, where fine cattle can roam as they will, but give me a home in Knockfearn at the side of the wind-swept hill, there again to smell the sweet heather, and to hear the old coolroos call, with a rose tapping light at the basement, and God's blessed light over all. It's there that my fond thoughts do linger, no matter wherever I roam. I ask not for fame or for fortune, but give me my own Limerick home. Torra will wake up in the morning when she's clad in her mantle of grey. Knockfearna looks down on the Shannon, just to bid it Godspeed on its way. Lochar, with its castle-crowned islands, it's a bright, sparkling gem I love best, for she'll hung like a fond, loving mother, and clasp them to her friendly breast. It's there that my fine thoughts do linger, no matter wherever I go. I ask not for fame or for fortune, but give me my own Limerick home. Now the joys of an old Limerick cottage, when the winter nights come along, the neighbors drop into the kitchen, they'll fill it with laughter and song, as Shanachie sits by the corner to tell us of days that are past, while the Bannaty's wholehearted welcome will take the chill from the cold winter's blast. It's there that my fond thoughts do linger, no matter wherever I roam. I ask not for fame or for fortune, but give me my own Limerick home.
The Knockfearna isn't doing him any harm. Like and Phelan, a new arrival there in the past year or two is Helen Naughton of Redkeel, and we're glad to say that from her first visits she has improved an awful lot. So Helen will give you a few tunes. Because we'll get carried away with these Piseogs ourselves. We've been talking about them so much in recent programmes, and a few more to come up. So I have a few men along here and a woman that we will have a few quick words with on the Piseogs. Much has been written about them. We wrote ourselves in our own journal back in '92, and I'll just quote a few pieces here that we haven't quoted, I think, on the radio. Maybe some of them would. These two behind me, left and right, they'll die of cancer at the rate of puffing fags. I don't know whether there was any Piseogs cure for that or not, but the clay pipe is the only job from his right. Clay pipe. The first milking, these are some stories or happenings from the days of the Piseogs back about. It would have changed with the television and the modern machinery and electricity and all those things that came in around the 60s. And up to those times it was a real serious problem in many, many areas. The first milking of a newly calved cow, the beestings, was given to as an offering to appease the fairies or the little people. The beestings was poured on a fairy fort and sometimes the roots of a hawthorn bush that may be growing nearby. Then one of the better known ones, of course, is if somebody called to a farmer while milking time and failed to salute him with the traditional salutations of God bless all here, he would be treated with the utmost suspicion and looked upon as an ill-disposed person with the evil eye. The farmer with the evil eye had the power to transfer the milk from his neighbour's herd to that of his own, and likewise with butter. It was a tradition to churn the milk before sundown on May Eve. As we said, only for this Eurovision boys, 'tis May, we will be talking about these things, you know. And the farming community considered the butter making was a ceremony associated with a number of risks due, as they thought, to the evil influence of the fairies or witchcraft. Before churning commenced, the door of the house was closed. If anyone entered during the operations, be they a stranger or a member of the family, they were invited to help with the churning. They were supposed to take part in it. To refuse would be considered an unlucky omen, even treated by some as an act of witchcraft. There are numerous superstitious rites associated with the making of good churn. Bad language, drinking or singing was strictly forbidden. Will I read that bit again? They didn't say anything about smoking, Pat. This is now. Bad language, drinking or singing was strictly forbidden while churning. So drink would cause the milk to be diluted. If the milk splashes the churner on the churner, he or she was fated to marry a drunken mate. When the butter breaks in small bits, it was smeared on the wall to bring luck to the house, and also as an offering to the fairies. The giving of a present of farm produce to a neighbour on May Eve was treated with deep suspicion. That one is fairly well known, that people weren't inclined to take anything, and equally on the other hand, people wouldn't be inclined to give it if it was requested. He says here in this one, I remember a friend giving a present of pork steak and puddings to my parents many years ago. The donor was well-intentioned and had no ulterior motives, but his parents refused to use what they had got because of the suspicion that it was meant to bring evil. If an old woman, I don't know why they always say old women, but be that as it may. If an old woman is seen gathering the dew in a sheet or with her hands, she is deemed to be stealing the milk and butter from the cows that graze on the pasture from which she selects it. That one was a very common one indeed. And the story is told of a gamekeeper in West Limerick whose 4 cows lost their milk. He kept watching them on one May Eve night, and at dawn saw a black hare come into the field gathering the dew, and rubbing it on its head and body. It turned and saw the gamekeeper, who fired a shot at it. The hare fled into a nearby house, followed by the gamekeeper, and I think the rest of you know what he found beside sitting in the chair was the old lady with a wound on her leg. The belief that hares are bewitched has led to the old adage, "I'll make a hare out of you." And also in relation to the bewitching of the changelings, it would be still held indeed to some degree that if somebody died suddenly, that the older people, I don't think any of the young people would say it, but the saying would be still there somewhat, that they were swept. Swept in that case was because of the old belief where they were swept by the fairies or changed if somebody was taken quick, that the fairies had taken them and changed them, so that's where that description of swept came from. Any Piseogs and Rathkeil?
Must be a lot of Piseogs and Rathkeil at one time.
You needn't give us any names of any people.
Oh, well, there was one woman, and every May she was going to the neighbour's field. They were watching her, and she'd drag a cheese along the grass, go into her own place and squeeze it into the tanker, after taking the best from the other two.
Did you see that happening?
Well, no, I didn't see that happening, but I heard about it.
Yeah.
But I saw a woman one evening, she was dragging a spancel through another man's field and going into the kitchen, putting it across the line and milking it into a bucket.
Did you see that happening?
I saw that happening myself.
And did milk come off the spancel?
No, but
She just went through the motion.
she went through the motions.
And had she good return for the creamery herself?
Well, she always had a good return.
Obviously.
Obviously, for the simple reason she had 6 goats, or she had 6 cows, and she had 7 or 8 goats, and she used to put the goat's milk onto the creamery, and she had the best taste going to the creamery, and they were making the neighbours were making out she was taking all the neighbours.
Dispensing was very important.
It was very important.
Leading items in use at the time. And did many people practice Piseogs in the Red Keel area?
Well, there used to be a lot of people at it, going around putting eggs on their places.
And did it work, do you think, or did you hear?
Well, I know myself it didn't work, because it happened to myself one time. There was a dozen of eggs put into the places, but it didn't do anything to the places anyway.
Well, I suppose there was also the element that people would just do it without having any...
They let him do it for blackguard.
Blackguard only as distinct.
I know one time there was a pig taken. There was an old couple living in a cottage, and there used to be a crowd playing cards there at night. The boys was coming on me, of course, all this Piseogs used to be going on. Was the woman had holy water got, and they stole the holy water. She had no holy water to shake around the place, to shake it. And that night the pig was stolen, and there was a lime kiln up in the field at the back of it. It happened there in Tallyo, you know, or Tallyo, yeah. There was a lime, you could see the lime kiln through. They put the pig into the lime kiln, and they fed the pig there for a week. They said the fairies took the pig, but the pig arrived back. Even no one knew where the pig came back.
Were there many doing it in the area, do you think?
There was lots of the boys would be doing it for blackguard.
What was the last case you had? How long ago, like, rather than what case? Was it many years ago?
Oh, well, it was around the 40s. There were still ashes around that here.
Not after the 40s, no?
Well, not after the 40s.
The Clare crowd kept going for another 25 years. The Clare crowd kept going for 25 years.
They had kitted the hair there going.
Anyone, was there many Piseogs in your area of Ardagh, wasn't it?
I suppose they were everywhere.
Yeah. Did you hear of any cases happening?
Only what putting eggs and all that kind of the same.
And did you ever hear of it taking any ill effects on those who received the
I
eggs?
suppose it did as time went on.
Yeah.
I suppose it beggared a lot of farmers.
Did you know of any family that finished up with eggs or meat or anything like that?
I didn't really, no.
I suppose the fear was in them anyway when the belief was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, they were afraid.
They weren't as innocent up around the tea, sir.
Well, I don't know.
Up your side?
I don't know very much about it here now, Pat, because I've only been there for 25 years, like, but
The stuff came.
they didn't actually, because no, I don't think they did. I know what Kerry influence we might have in it, but last year, in fact, and this became widely known, and it went into the public media, that there was carcasses of animals, of bonnets and lambs and so on, dumped in the little lawn and the little shrubbery that's near the new cemetery in it here. That happened last year, like, and it became widely known. There was
in May, there was anything,
I forget what time of the year is that it was. It was the springtime, I'm sure, of last year, but it caused a lot of annoyance locally and a lot of condemnation of this sort of thing, because it is a lovely kept shrubbery there with a Calvary, a lighted Calvary there and all, and it was an unusual happening. So there were some people that thought that it was the work of some cult, and of course, like, a lot of people seem to think that these things are confined to Ireland, like, but they're not, because when we lived in Somerset, which is on just across the river from Bristol, we often heard of things happening in Wales, And a lot of these things goes back, way back into the midst of Celtic mythology. And you know, like every year in Wales now they hold a thing called an Stafford. That would be something of the, our own type of flack hole, you see. It is called an Stafford, and the druids and all, you know, it is just simulated. And a lot of the superstitions are reenacted there, you know, and just reenacted as a part of the Stafford. But I remember back home in Kerry that it was a very regular thing, like for us to find eggs inside in the fields of oats and things there.
Did you take them in and eat them?
We did not. We did not. But there was one particular year, and we found them. I think we used to set a lot of corn during the war years, and there was one particular year that we found a lot of eggs in the corn there. And they had 3 of our bullocks die with dysentery in the same year, and the folks next door lost a good number of cattle, I suppose 7 or 8 cattle as well. And in one particular townland, we bought hay there one year. This is going back a long while now. And when we went for the hay to draw it home with a horse and car that time, we found a lot of eggs inside in the wines of hay there. And I don't think that there was any damage to them that year. But, you know, these things, of course, could have been a lot of coincidence. But then definitely, like, these things were happening. And bits of, you know, like all rotten bacon and things found in haystacks. And in fact, it is still happening. The likes of that is still happening in Hay Parish to a certain extent. But
Not specifically related.
it is more probably vandalism now than Piseogs or anything. But you know, it causes uneasiness in people's minds. Definitely does.
What was the outcome of the happenings last year? Was anybody?
There wasn't anyone convicted or charged with doing it, but it caused a lot of annoyance and a lot of a certain amount of fear among the local population, of course, when these things happened, you see, because it was, you know, to find rotten carcasses inside in plastic bags thrown into near a cemetery. It certainly caused a lot of annoyance to people that have, you know, some of their folks buried in the local cemetery there. And it was the new cemetery, actually. There are 2 cemeteries in Template. This was the new one, just alongside it. And people were angry, and people were afraid, and people were annoyed about it. And of course, like, as I said, it became a public media matter. But I suppose that...
Idle minds, I suppose.
I suppose it was, and people that had nothing better to do.
You can go back 30 years for us.
As far as I could go, I suppose.
You're too.
Back our way.
In your young days now, Nicky,
Eh?
in your young days, about 45 years ago, say,
Yeah.
thereabouts.
Well, I won't comment on that. But, but the women back our way, if they failed to get a man, they used to look forward to May Eve. It was a great night supposed to meet a man. Anywhere they'd operate in the right manner. This woman worked in a house, and the farmer, his wife, and May Eve, for the woman that failed to get a man, she'd get a reel, and she'd get a ball of thread. There was no hay barns that time. She'd come out to her stack of hay, she'd start wheeling the ball of thread around the reel, and she'd keep walking around the stack of hay. And before she'd be gone 9 rounds of the stack of hay, she'd meet the man that was going to marry her. But this particular woman, anyway, she was working this house. Man and his wife, as I told you before, and she kept walking around the stack of hay. And in the meantime, your man came out pulling a sap of hay for a cow, and she walked right up against the boss that she was working with. So I suppose they had some few words about it, but he took it in funny parts, like, because it was the done thing. But anyway, when all was over, she worked away for the year, and after 6 months, the woman of that house died. This is a real fact. And that woman was married to the man of the house. I used to my father always telling that story. And there was another woman back our way. She was called Joan Grogan. She was supposed to be a great woman to counteract Piseogs. There was this fella, and that time when I'd be making the butter, if he was churning forever, the cream wouldn't turn into butter. So he sent for Joan Grogan, and Joan came anyway, and she told him, I'll see after that for you. Next day you're making butter, she said, get the coulter of a plough. I presume you know what a coulter of a plough is. And when you start churning your barrel, put the coulter of a plough into a red fire. And they done it, and the cream started turning into butter. And your man wanted to get right proof of it. He took the coulter of the plough out of the fire. I used to say, my father, God be good to him telling that story, and it stopped turning into butter, and he put it back in again and it started turning into butter.
She was quite a good character, that Joan Grogan. We mentioned that ourselves the other night.
To counteract Piseogs.
Yeah.
She had the way, like, for it.
Is she dead long?
Eh?
When did she die, do you know?
Well, I presume she died before my time anyway.
You missed out there, Mickey. You might be. Who knows? I got a phone call today from this gentleman standing beside me, Bat Collins, and he wanted to know what was on Saturday night. And I told him then about my two friends, the two boys. It was switched. And Bat Collins from Rathkeed, it's his first time coming. We're delighted to have you and glad you came. And delighted you brought your father with you. Hopefully we'll get talking to him later on.
The island, his daughter, fell in love with 7 men. There was a lord who lived in the town, who had a lovely, handsome daughter. She was courted by a very young man who was the servant to her mother. And when her parents came to know, they vowed to send him from the island. Well, the maid to know, it would break her heart were she to part from young Matt Island. So straightway to her love she came into his room to wait, saying, arise, my love, you must go away. This very night you will be taken. I overheard my parents say, in spite of love, they will transport you. So arise, my love, and go away. I wish to God I'd gone before you. They both sat down upon the bed, all for the space of half an hour, and not a word was ever said, as down their cheeks the tears they shone. She laid her head Lord did speak with his lady fair. One night alone in their bedchamber, saying we'll send for him and we'll bring him back, since no one else can win her favor. They wrote a letter then in haste and brought them back unto the island. They took them to the church to wed and made a lord of young mankind.
Over the borders, we're up close to it now. Also from Rathkeil, John Hughes. John will give us a song. So.
Well, I met a girl in Connemara, far west from Galway town. Her blue eyes glowed with beauty and her red hair flowing down. She lives among the mountains where the wild, wild heather grows. And her name is Kate O'Hara, she's my Connemara rose. Oh, I knew when first I saw her on the road to Hoctor, that somehow, some way, someday, she'd be tenant of my heart. She smiled at me so sweetly as a stream beside her flowed. And from that day on I ne'er forget my Connemara rose. It seems that endless time went by since again I saw her smile. But the memory of her love, it stayed with every lonely mile. She was waiting as she promised when I came back to her home, and to ask her father for the hand of my Connemara rose. And she comes from Connemara, far west from Galway town. Her blue eyes glowed with beauty and her red hair flowing down. She lives among the mountains where the wild, wild heather grows. And her name is Kate O'Hara, she's my Connemara rose. Now tomorrow we will walk the aisle in the little church at Man, and there we'll take the vows for life to live and work as one. Her children grow to manhood where the wild, wild heather grows. And I hope that they'll be proud like me of my Connemara rose. Oh, she comes from Connemara, far west from Galway town. Her blue eyes glowed with beauty, and her red hair flowing down. She lives among the mountains where the wild, wild heather grows. And her name is Kate O'Hara. She's my Connemara Rose.
Our thanks there to John Hughes. John lives in Redkey now for many years, a very fine singer. John was unable to go to Cork Radio last week, so hopefully he'll be with us on Sunday night next in Kerry. Young Stephen Naughton from Redkey now will give you a few tunes on the button accordion. We only found him over the winter time there when we were searching. Not stuck, now we weren't stuck, we were searching. As we were talking there to Pat Brosnan a while ago about changing times in a tay, my mind was going back to Nellie Fitzgerald, who told me earlier in the night that she was going to sing a song about a tay, and it reminded me of the Lyons and the Daltons and those men at that time who were shot in the valley of Knockenour, which is just outside the Tay. Times have changed. It wasn't begging rotten animals and throwing them in over the graveyard while those boys were in their day. So Nellie Fitzgerald will sing a song about a man who was shot during the IRA troubles in a Tay. The name of it is Paddy Dalton.
In a Tay lonely churchyard, by out here, sleeping in the green Irish graves, our own Paddy Dalton, the bravest and best We will miss him forever in lonely cool west. He fought for his country and died in their cause, and against cruel invaders he hated their laws. For the dawning of freedom, for slavery chain, he gave his young life, but he died not in vain. In your memory, dear Paddy, who fought on that day, and to all the grand boys of the old IRA, who fought for dear Erin, who died for their land. In your memory, dear Paddy, we've got a fine band. We'll play your sweet music, a lullaby of rest, and softly it will steal o'er the hills of a cool west. We'll beat the drums loudly and play Galmacree until Ireland again be a home of the free. Flow gently, sweet Gaily, for guard they're keeping the angels above, o'er the graves where they're sleeping, and our band o'er the hills echo music serene, keeping memory of cause in our souls evergreen.
Nellie Fitzgerald from Atay singing a song that was written after that tragedy in Atay back in the 1920s. Paddy Stokes is a name that we don't easily forget. So he washed his tongue before he came tonight, he said, and we can chance him here beside the fire. So Paddy will give you a song.
My name is Dick Darby, I'm a cobbler. I serve all my time at Old Camp. Some call me an old agitator, but now I'm resolved to repent. With an entwing of a dido, with an entwing of an entwing dido. With me robo randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. My father was hung for sheep stealing. My mother was bung for a witch. My sister's a dandy housekeeper, and I'm a mechanical switch. With an entwing of a dido, with an entwing of an dido, with me robo randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. My wife, she's humpy, she's lumpy. My wife is the devil, she's black. And no matter what I may do with her, her tongue it goes clickety-clack. With an entwing of a dido, with an entwing of an dido, with me robo randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. It's 40 long years I have travelled, all by the contents of me pack. Me hammers, me awl and me pincers, I've carried them all in my back. With an entwing of a dido, with an entwing of an dido, with me robo randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away. It was early one fine summer's morning, a little before it was day. I dipped her 3 times in the river, and carelessly bade her good day. With an entring of a dido, with an entring of an entring dide, with me robo randy, and me lobstone keeps baiting away.
That was all right. I'm relieved after it. We have often said over the many years we've been doing these here, and also the festival on August of the Lesser and in July is the case on this occasion. In the height of summer in August, over the 5 years we've held those festivals, we never yet got a fine day. And equally on those nights which we've held many of them, and usually mainly in the winter time, we never got a bad wet night. So I suppose it's the climate changes. So tonight is not a very fine night, and it's in keeping with all the previous ones. We had one night which was a little bit windy, all right, but that only added to the interest of the night. That's beautiful silence. Our next man, if any of you look out the window, you will see Ahinish, and on the other side of it you will see Ahinish, Shannon Airport and Limerick City, so the view is quite nice. And there was travellers around long ago, they used to always call in this set for the tea, so we're not calling you a traveller now, Betty, or anything. Our next entertainer here tonight would be traditional to any of the old style rambling houses. The crowd mightn't have been always as big, and indeed many years ago the crowds would have been big because very large numbers of people would have attended those rambling house sessions, and the Shanachie was always a part of that. And tonight it gives us great pleasure again, and we're glad to have him, as we will have on Sunday night in the Kerry Rambling House, Pat McAuliffe, Shanachie.
Come on, quick enough, she'd say, tell on. What are we waiting for? Well, there was a fellow that lived down our way. Teddy Crimmon was his name. And 'twas just after the foundation of the state and the guard of Shakona came into being, Teddy applied for a job as a guard. And I want to God if he didn't get it. A big tall man Teddy was, with a big pair of shoulders on him. His mother said he had the height and the chest for us, which was the poor woman never know Teddy had the brain in his head, the misfortune. And all the neighbours said that 'twas a pool got him in. Could be that as it may, or whatever government was in power at the time, in he got. And he was called for 6 weeks training up to the Phoenix Park up in Dublin. Well, the first morning they went out in the square, the sergeant had Teddy marching up and down with all the rest of the fellas. And if Teddy didn't maintain, they were all out of step except himself. The sergeant threatened him. And in them times, after 6 weeks training, a new recruit had been sent down to a country station, and in this instance, Teddy Crimmon was sent back to Glenflesk, a small village back near Killarney. There was no one there, only the sergeant and himself. And he wasn't there 24 hours, he wasn't hot. When the sergeant realised he was after getting a right lad in Teddy, so Teddy was good for nothing. He was there a while until it was Sunday evening, and there is an account come to the station that there was a woman after dying about 3 miles away in a farmhouse, and the guards had to be got. In times there was no post-mortems. And the sergeant said to himself, look, he said, I don't want to be going out there and I'll send out Teddy and I'll give him a stiff warning going. He said, don't open your mouth, he said to Teddy, only answer when you're asked and keep your mind to yourself. He said, there's not a lot of harm we can do then. Teddy left. And he went out and he went into the door of the house and he knocked. And a woman opened the door and Teddy said to her, is this your sister? He said, it's Dee. This woman was after visiting her son, and she was living about 3 miles around the road, which was only 2 fields down across the hill, and they were saying how would they carry her home, and they were saying a horse and car. A small little woman she was, it looks as Teddy. I throw her up on my shoulder, he said, and I'll go down across the hill with her, he said, and sure no one I know. Which was a grand moonlight night, and Teddy set off. And up on top of the hill, there was a graveyard. I'm not exactly sure, no, was it the same graveyard as the woman was going to be buried in? But there was a fellow hustling sheep at the time, stealing of my man, and he had his headquarters in the graveyard. He used to be sending the sons through the country to collect the sheep, and they'd bring them back and throw them into the graveyard, and he'd mind them until they'd have a good few together. And of course, he put up his head, and when he saw Teddy coming with the burden in his shoulder, he thought it was one of the sons with his sheep. And he said, throw her in, his sheep back isn't anymore where she was. When Teddy dropped the cot, the seven, she was hot, he never stopped running until he arrived inside the station in Glenflisk, and he told the sergeant, well, I can tell ye, Teddy Crimmon was long gone out of Glenflisk when the sergeant realised who the ghost was. Well, Teddy used to go down to the pubs at night, stopping at half pints, and doing a bit of eavesdropping, and they take the Maria. And he was standing above at the corner this Monday morning when a travelling journeyman stonemason arrived into town with 2 bags. A bag with a handful of belongings in one hand, and I suppose a handful of traps that he'd be working with in the other. And he said to Teddy, I'm a journeyman stonemason. He said, you know anywhere I'd get a strap for on? God knows there's Teddy, I do. I was below the pub last night, he said, and if you take the first farmer's entrance below to the right at the bottom of the village, he said, you will get a strap there. He said, I heard the man talking about it last night. My man struck up, and in he went and he knocked at the door, and the farmer came out and he said, I'm a journeyman stonemason, he said, and I'd be looking for a start. My master's woman and woman. He said, catch that rope there, he said. The only job in that line we have to do, he said, is to cast the rat aboard. He said, and you look and hold him for me. Well, Teddy used to go into the hall at night, and he used to stand inside at the back. Haley's there were in them times. And he was the real wallflower, he'd never moved. And there was this little woman in the village, Moll Holloway was her name, a small little woman. She was full of importance, I can tell you. And she said she'd get Teddy to the floor. And what's more than that, she said, I'd get into the rails. Women in them times used to be mad to marry guards. Prestige kind of jobs, like. Well, this Sunday night, she cut across the hall and she said to Teddy, the Ben was playing the walls of Limerick. Do you know the walls of Limerick? She said to him. Indeed, I do. He said, and well, if I haven't a brother married to one of them. Well, Moll got Teddy to the rails, and the people moved out of Glenflisk. And where do you think they moved him? Only down into Limerick City. And whatever chance the poor man had in Glenflisk, he moved it all below the city. He was the Lone Mary Street with a big crowd of other guards, and he not known his lieutenant from his right. And then a complaint come to the station that there was a man down somewhere in them small houses and he was keeping pigeons, and they were a nuisance to the man next door who made the complaint. He said they were destroying his front lawn with their droppings. Teddy was sent to investigate, as he said himself, and he returned after about 2 hours, and he said to the sergeant, he said, I met the man, and he made the complaint, and he showed me, he said, and he said that the pigeons were destroying his whole place every morning. But he said, then I met the man that owned the pigeons, he said, and he said he used to let out them pigeons every morning, and they used to fly up to the people's park. That's the park above alongside the railway station. And he said they used to do all their dropping and all their picking in the park. But says Teddy, on further investigation, I found out, he said, that the gate of that park don't open until 9 o'clock, he said. Therefore, he said, I'm going to prosecute the man that owns the pigeons. Okay, this is the sergeant. Well, Teddy was doing a bit of point duty at the corner of William Street, and in them times I needn't tell you there was little motor cars, and he was standing below with her humping him like a rat crossing the road, and at the top of his nose, and a crowd get a drink out of it. And only for having the cap on, you wouldn't know he was a guard, directing traffic. And God knows he was only there a couple of hours when if he didn't get knocked down. And he was removed up to that infirmary that's across the road from the jail. And Mal went up to see him that evening. Well, the twice stood in the poor woman's head. There he was inside in the bed with a rosary bed to put on mind. He never had his hand in his life. And the nurse came on and she said to the wife, she said, "You're terrible, okay?" She said, "Only for we getting him up here," she said, "and he getting a quick blood transfusion, he'd have died," she said. And you wouldn't know whether Mal was glad or sorry. And she said, "I don't know what kind of blood Mal you gave him, but you must have given him priests or ministers or nuns' blood." She said, "Look at the black arm with the rosary bed," she said, "I think he never had in his life." Well, Mal went home that night, and Teddy came home a few days after, and God knows whether it was the fright he got or not, he didn't live long. And Ma laid him out in the small room down off at the kitchen, and all the neighbours were coming into the way. And this woman came in, and she went down and she touched Teddy below the bed, and she came up and she said to Ma, "Well, isn't he a lovely corpse?" They usually are anyway. And she said, "He's still hot." "Benson," says Ma, "I'll tell you something." She said, "Hot or cold, he's gone out that door."
A selection of stories which were very, very common by the firesides indeed many, many years ago, before Home and Away came to change all that for you. So Con Herbert came over the hills from Matay with a bottle of holy water in his pocket. So he'll sing a song for you tonight.
Alone, all alone, by the wave the strand, and alone in the crowded hall. The waves they were gay, and the strand it was grand, but my heart is not here at all. It flies far away by night and by day, to the joys and the tides that are gone. But I never will forget the sweet maiden that I met in the valley near Slievenamon, in the festive hall, by the wave-washed shore, ever my restless spirit lies. My love, oh my love, will I e'er see you more? And my land, will you never uprise? By night and by day, I ever pray, while slowly my life flows on, for to see the flag unrolled, and my true love to enfold in the valley near Slievenamon.
David Riordan, who was secretary of our committee now for a number of years, and also quite active around here with the whitewash brush. He had a good straight aim today when he gave it a splash. So David takes part in many flares and competitions and so forth, so David will sing you a song.
They went to work in Kerry. It was at the time when the Kerry boys and girls were coming hither to the hiring fairs in Kilmallock and so on. So this is how he got on anyway. In the song is Brady's of Phelan. I walked down on a Kerry farm in a place they called Phelan. There I was hired for 9 long months by a miser of a man. The morning I was hired with him, we strolled down by the sea. He promised me a fortune and he then shook hands with me, saying, "You're welcome to the kingdom, for you are a decent man." But 'twas little we knew what we had to do at Brady's of Phelan. with their hairy eggs for breakfast, stale meat and stale ham. 'Twas little we knew what we had to do at Brady's of Killan. His poor old aunt shook up a wife with teeth out from her gob. Whenever I told a bit of a joke, she'd smile up from the hob. Old Brady, he got jealous when his poor old wife did smile. He kicked up a regular hullabaloo and frightened their only child. With their hairy eggs for breakfast, stale meat and stale ham, 'twas little we knew what we had to chew at Brady's of Killan. Now Brady's wife had lost her looks, on that diet she was losing weight, but Brady's hair was shining from the rashers and stale meat. My poor old my bed was walking with fleas and lice. Sure, the fleas ran up and down. Now they were there in their thousands. Sure, it was their little town. We roared and bawled and kicked the wall at Brady's of Killan. From scratching and from tearing, my poor old back was sore, till one day the bed got up and walked right out the door. Well, things got so bad now at this stage that I had to give him a week's notice. For 7 long days I waited for Brady and his one to take me to the Limerick Hills and to my home in sweet Glenlawn. So now to finish and conclude, take this advice from me. Keep away from those old Kerry farmers with their hairy eggs and cheese.
Well, it was nice to hear the unusual one there from David Riordan. There's a lady sitting back at the back here. She was around here. It was on May the 1st of last year, around the houses in Hill. What did you think of the houses you saw?
I find the place very, very interesting, and I am delighted that you have a heritage group here because it is really an important site. I would say it's actually going back to Mesolithic times, and I find it very interesting is the prayer stones on the road up, which each of them have got an energy which I dowsed for or divined for last year on the walk. Also the houses, yes, I find everything very interesting. Can I? Sorry. I was trying to hide, but there's no look in a place like this.
What did you find in the different houses, or what did you think you found in the different houses?
You found different feelings of what crafts went on in the area, like stonework and things like that, maybe bakery, things like that, and also where they kept the animals and done smoking and curing of meat. Also, I was just thinking earlier on when you were talking about Piseogs, I have a story about that. And I'm not as old as the rest of the gentlemen here, but it has happened in the area that I live in. And my mother used to say, when she used to see this particular lady going up the road, she says, be sure she doesn't pass the gate. She used to always say to me, because if she lay an eye on her chickens, the chickens will go. And which really did happen on one occasion. We did lose the hatch of that month. So after that, I remember my mother putting a medal on her incubators. So that's one interesting story. I also must tell you, you better watch out for the fairies anyway this time of the year, because this is the time of the year at Beltane or Beyond, which they move from fort to fort. So keep an eye on things while you're out there.
What kind of trades did you feel took place in those houses around the hill?
The trades, like when you're thinking of the community in this area long ago, each person had something to give. It is not like now where everything is so materialistic.
There's everything to take now.
And so they had a skill to barter with. So everybody had something to give and something to earn from it. And I feel Knockfearn has very much got this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All of these Nauchtons aren't all the one family, but they're close enough. Mrs. Naughton will sing you a song. She sang here another night with a very fine, sweet voice. So you can hold it yourself.
I'll sing of a loved one, an idol to me. Although we are parted by the deep rolling sea, my thoughts gladly wander to Erin's green shore, where lives my sweet treasure, Mavournian store. It's well I remember our parting goodbye, how you tried for to keep the sad tears from your eyes, saying, Paddy, God bless you and send you safe home to the heart that is waiting for you all alone. I place neath my pillow each night as I sleep that dear little token she gave me to keep, just a wee bit of ribbon she took from her hair. So sure no king has the jewel that's more precious or rare. Each morning when awaking, I press to my heart that dear little gift, with it ne'er shall I part. For it comes from the fairest and dearest to me. She's my beauty of Limerick, Akashlamokri. It's well I remember the promise I made. I go back to old Ireland when money I've saved, for there's no girl fairer nor lovelier than she. She's my beauty of Limerick, Akashlamokri.
That was Mrs. Naughton from Redkeel. And Phelan, the young lady we've been watching, growing old and getting better at the music and going higher places all the time. And as we say, we're still glad that she's with us. So Anne will give you a few more tunes on the violin.
Thank you.
concert awards there in Redkeel. It was the first time I heard him actually. I was very impressed with him, and he's a very fine singer and musician, and we're delighted that he's here with us. And then Pat Mac will play after Bat for a few tunes, and then the kettle is on the boil, so we'll have a drop of tea, and then we will start back again about 10 minutes or after that or so for till midnight.
Only for night in Batty I would swim over the deepest ocean, only for night in Batty. But the water is wide, and I cannot swim over, and neither have I the wings to fly. I wish I could be with the handsome boatman to ferry me over to my love and die. Bye-bye, her friend and kind relation, bring back sweet memories of long ago. Bye-bye, her friend and kind relation, have all passed on now like the drifting snow. I'll spend my days an endless rover, a handsome rover from town to town. I do be back now in Carrickfergus. Come all you young lads and lay me down.
ladies and gentlemen, we'll start again. We will speak to those 4 mature gentlemen on my right. And Paddy Dinneen sitting here beside me, Patrick Dinneen. Over many years he entertains me here in the hill sometimes himself, and Biddy Elmer. Biddy has moved up to the RUC boys up to Portadown, so Paddy is still keeping the flag flying here locally. So we'll get to those lads in a few minutes, and in the meantime we will start off with Helen Naughton, who will play a few tunes on the flute. He's hiding in there by the fire. Pat was listening to the tape this evening on Cork Radio, and he said you were outstanding last night. So you have 2 good references from the old man and the young lady, and Phelan. Now, as I've said, it's been a pleasure for me around these parts over the past 20 years to meet Paddy Dinneen on the passage and on the hills over many, many years. We have many a fine, fine chat. He's a shy man. He'd hardly ever curse or anything. So, so it would have been 82 years ago that you were born in Ballingarry, and I suppose after that, in 7 years or so, you headed up here. Were there many people living up around here at that time?
At that time,
75 years ago.
Well, of course, Henny Green and Stephen Kelly, or old Stephen was his name. And who else is this?
Yeah, well, they've been just between the house and the passage and the gate.
And a man by the name of John Mulcahy. He lived in the quarry there for a while.
Quarry as you come up on the right.
Yeah.
Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan.
Huh?
Jim Sullivan. Paddy.
And Jim Sullivan. He was over near the well.
Yeah. Were there many people drawing water from the well?
Well, there was. Of course, the Hattikins used to have horses up there.
Came later, but in the earlier times now.
Oh, well, let's see now. There wasn't many, only my uncle, Jerry Dinneen.
Yeah.
He used to start the water, yes.
Yeah.
And I was down it then when he left. That's all I remember now.
And were you ever in this house in Henry Green's time of visit?
Oh, I was often calling there. She was a great old character in her own way.
Yeah.
You know. She was.
Who was living with her?
She was taking lodgers occasionally, you know.
From Newcastle West. I was from the other side of the hill.
They'd come out from the village, from Ballingarry, out for in the summertime for, you know, to be out in the
fresh air.
Fresh air. There was great air up there always.
She used to have a lot of goats.
Oh, she used to have a lot of goats. She was keep about surely 20 goats. And 3 cows she used to keep at that time.
How used she go shopping then, or when did she go shopping?
We go shopping then at night. She'd go into Ballingarry and she'd walk in and she'd have a pack of dogs. She couldn't do that in the present day though. No, you couldn't go along the road like that.
Aye.
I mean, there'd be too much traffic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it'd be too dangerous.
But she used to go in at...
She was going at 10 or 11 o'clock at night before she go in the village.
Yeah.
She'd do her shopping then and she'd spend her time with some of her friends and walk home then and maybe 12 or 1 o'clock when she goes.
She was fairly old then when she became ill.
No, I suppose she was around 50 anyway that time.
Yeah. She was over 80, I think, when she died, was she?
But no, I couldn't exactly. I suppose she was up to 70 anyway.
Yeah, she was playing concertina. Do you
She was
ever
playing concertina, but I never had to play any.
Yeah.
The concertina was broke when I met her.
Or broke after you meeting up. Were there many, who was living over at Sullivan's?
Huh?
Who was living over at Sullivan's, didn't he?
There was no one there, only Jim himself.
Jim Sullivan only.
That's all. All his sisters, they went to America.
Yeah.
There
was ruins of houses there between yourself and myself up there in the field, the 2 old houses side by side that we...
Well, they never said anyone in them.
They were just covered over.
They were covered over, they were all demolished.
You didn't ever hear of anyone even living there, did you?
Well, I didn't.
The names of the people?
I wasn't interested in that. There was no folklore that time.
Yeah, but you never heard of who was living there?
They only died away and there was no more about them. Forget about them then.
Going to fairs long ago, how did you go to the fair of Redkeel or whatever fairs you went to?
I might have to drive those cattle, you know, and the usual way. That's that. We get up in the morning about 3 o'clock and face for Redkeel, to be shoved on for 6 o'clock for it would be below nearly. Between collecting them and carrying them.
Whereabouts in Redkeel then would the cattle be kept during the selling?
You see, everyone would have their own lot. And they'd bunch up and they'd have their bunch, you know, and you would mind your bunch. And they were actually keeping you away from their own. Yeah. You know, everyone was helping one another that way.
Yeah. What part of the town used the cattle be? Was there a fair green in Redkeel?
Up through the middle of it.
Along the main street?
Yeah. And they used to have guards outside, you know, to keep the cattle from going near the doors. And they'd have it covered with straw.
But where all the travellers are now up in the hill, that was the old fair green. Do you remember cattle being up there?
Huh?
Up where the caravans are up in Fair Hill at the moment. That was the old fair green in Redkeel. Do you remember cattle?
No, we never had to go up there.
Not in your time, no.
No, it was all through the village, or all through the town.
Town, yeah.
To the streets. And then we would have them sold, you'd have to take them out to the railway. Do you remember that? You went? I do. And you would have to... You may be hours waiting at the railway before we get away.
Yeah.
Or to be evening before we go out of it.
What kind of do you remember what price cattle made?
Pardon?
How much were cattle in those times, the early days?
God, I couldn't exactly tell you. Could you remember that day? Huh? Huh?
A calf, 50 pence today, right? General arrived, same value. But the skin is all the ones that same value, you know. The heifers.
You killed the calf. And the skin was more valuable than the calf.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
You get 10 bob for the skin.
Oh.
And you could make chips and out of the body in it.
Well, every time today,
Yeah.
we got a list of barn every year in the month of September. And full board.
It's sitting behind you now.
Ah, well, she was there maybe. She was there that time. Well, £1.50 a crown for a week, full board and lodgings. That's the cost.
How many years ago would that have been?
Oh, it would be 56 years old.
56
Yeah.
years.
And when you look into it today, a calf was 50 pence that day. It took over 2 calves for your wheat holidays. And for 2 calves today, you could have a wheat holiday too.
It is in keeping, so.
Yeah, you know what I'm just saying, right?
Yeah. What families do you remember living around these parts?
Well, the same now as part of Dinneen, Jim Sullivan,
Yeah.
Annie Green, Stephen Kelly up there a bit hill,
Yeah.
and Jack Mulcahy back at the body. I don't remember Jack Mulcahy, yeah.
Jack Mulcahy, that's we.
He was.
Those houses that have been rebuilt over the hill now, did you ever hear of any names?
No,
in
Pat,
those?
no.
Any names at all, no?
Just a Colin Bawn.
Yeah.
Lord had no Pat, like, lived in one of them over there.
Yeah.
Like. She was rare there, like.
So the other people would have been long gone
She was a
memory, so.
She was born below around Town and part as well.
Yeah.
And she brought up there, and she was rare above and the hill, Pat, like.
You used to ramble around the hill a lot when you were young.
That's right.
I don't know how many years that was in your case because of the head.
Well, it was just 50 years ago since I was in this house before.
Yeah.
But Henny agreed here one night, the night before St. Stephen's night. Myself and a man went across the hill there to get a tambourine for the following day. We called in here to Henny, and
So you took one of her girls to the tambourine.
she made tea for us. And she had a crowd of dogs back down in the room. She was naming them as corners they came out. And she had a dresser here where the window is now. I don't know whether the window was there that time.
The window wasn't as big as that.
No, but
size.
there was geese inside in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Inside in the cove, looking out at us. She had a big fire there, and she had the tea drawn for about 3/4 of an hour. We were hardly
Fine, strong soap.
well, we were able to eat it when we got it. We wanted no bread. Joe Hickey, my son.
Joe Hickey, but he lived out of the cross of Ballyane. He died a few years ago.
What fairs used you go to then?
Mostly Ratkale, Rome, Charlotte was maybe 19.
And what are your early memories or times of getting up and going and walking them?
Well, it's a way to get up a lot earlier than Paddy because we had 4 or 5 miles
Longer
extra.
journey, yeah.
We used to get up as fast at 2 o'clock, it's we used to envy the Ballingarry people. They'd be only getting up when we gone down, but we'd be up around 2 hours before that.
And in Redkeel, do you remember the fair green being in use?
No.
No.
The square usually we used to park cattle.
It was a much earlier.
Mm.
We'll have a recitation from Patsy McCann on Sean Finn, who would have been another one of those dedicated Irishmen before the EEC and EEC jobs and high pensions and so forth. So
we were held, but now we must be free. God rest the souls of those brave men who did their laws defy. Some weeks they last in prison cells, some on the scaffold high, more on the lonely mountain side. Their hearts both stout and brave, and their last dying words were freedom as they filled a martyr's grave. There was Thomas Ashe and Colbert brave, Mac Sweeney without dread, young Kevin Barry and Trainer, who for Ireland nobly bled. There was Pearse and Connolly by their side, who fought both fierce and bold to free the land that gave them birth to unfurl the green and gold. Now there is one more I have to state before I drop my pen, who fought the foeman 10-1. He was Commandant Finn. On Woodcliff plains fell his remains, though bullets did not fail. In blessed clay he lies today in his native place, Ratkeel.
It's Patsy McCann of Redkeel, one of our loyal supporters over many years now, and Patsy has been in hospital for the past week and he only came out last night, so we're indeed thankful to him and glad that he was able to join us tonight. What was school like, Paddy? Do you remember the school in the early days? How many were in the class? How many teachers?
Oh, we were in Bellingham. There were 2 teachers, and I couldn't tell you about the numbers in the classes. You know, we'd have to. We wouldn't be interested in that, you know.
Yeah. Would you have got slapped in your days?
Oh, what slapped? Yeah, you could be crying half the day with the slap you'd get that day.
With a stick, is it?
Yeah.
Would you get many slaps, or where would you get them?
You remember, Connie, you do. Maybe the bad.
How many slaps would you get, or what kind of punishment would you get?
You might get, according to the
misdemeanor.
Huh?
According to what you did.
What you did, that's according to the trouble you caused.
Yeah. Would you get many slaps?
Yeah, you could get 12 of them.
Would you?
Good.
Hard ones.
All hard to see we give them.
Yeah.
And if I pulled your hand, Patrick, it had built underneath and
Yeah.
keep it out again, you know.
I believe Mr. Connor was a very easy teacher.
I was. I know about that.
Mr. Connell, what was he like?
Oh, he was a very nice man. he was nice, all right, but he was nice when he was doing that, though.
Yeah. What school did you go to?
Grana.
How were they over there?
Oh, they were very good. Master Spearman was our teacher at that time, and a man by the name of Shannon from Castletown.
What time your school start and finish?
About 9 o'clock, I suppose, and according to the class you'd be in,
Yeah.
you'd be finished at.
And would you get an hour for lunch then, or what?
You would get play hour, yeah.
And what about facilities then? Did you flask, or how did you heat?
There are a couple of cuts of bread and would have been made before we go half a mile from home.
Was there a fire in the school? Was it, how
There was
did
a
you heat?
fire, yeah, fire, and everyone brought a few sticks with them in the morning, and that it.
And would you have tea in bottles or what?
You'd have no tea as such. Maybe you might have a bottle of milk before, well off enough to have
Would
one.
you go heating that in front of the fire?
No, it would be
You
done
didn't ever
cold.
heat bottles of tea or
No,
anything?
indeed, no.
Did you heat bottles of tea in front of the fire in Ballingarry?
We could come home to it.
I know, but the lads who were far out will say, country-wise.
Oh, the fellas from the country, they'd bring a bottle of milk, didn't they? Tea. Huh?
Well,
I suppose that.
signs on you living well and living long. What school did you go to, Dave?
Ballingarry.
Ballingarry. It was a good journey to go, so.
3 miles.
How did you find the teacher?
Oh, fine. And all depending.
When he wasn't fine, how did you find him?
Oh, he wasn't too good, like. I was all right, like.
Yeah.
If it's hard now, you were going to learn or some fellas that wouldn't be bothered like, until you read it. I seen one day now that they're off the end of a map.
Yeah.
With timber. Warning.
Do you think that it is good that the discipline in schools have changed?
My job would not. It's better than no time, Pat.
Not better, but maybe more effective.
Oh, it doesn't come that late now. That
Yeah.
people know where to stop and where to go, like, but no stopping now, like.
How do you mean no stopping now?
Oh, so they can do the light now, like, sir. And you can't raise it for a
In
school.
school?
No.
What do you think of the changes in that area?
I suppose that's a bit drastic, all right.
But is society today, is it better or worse because of the changes, what do you think?
Well, it's there's more crime committed now anyway.
Yeah.
More crimes of violence anyway. That was only very petty crime, I'd say, nowadays.
Yeah. Do you think it's gone too soft now?
I'd say so.
Yeah. We'll stick with the old crowd in the school conditions, so we won't come to the younger generation. This man must have, he must be like a large percentage of the, the man beside me must be like a large percentage of the population of Rathkeil. He must have travelled a lot, because he's heading for Derry this time, in the town I love so well.
I will always see the town that I have loved so well. last year gone, and we laughed through the snow and going home in the rain, running up the dark lane, past the jail and down behind the fountain. Those were happy days and so many, many days in the town that I loved so well. In the early morning, the shrubbery hall called the women from Craig, the moor and the farm, while the men of the dole played upon the road, and the children and men of the town. And when times got rough, there was just about enough, yet they saw it through without complaining. For deep inside was a burning pride in the town that I loved so well. There was music there in the dirty air, like a language that we could understand. I remember the day that I earned my first pay, when I played with the small little band. There I spent my youth, and to tell you the truth, I was sad to leave it all behind me. For I learned about life, and I found me joy in the town that I loved so well. But when I returned, how my eyes they did burn to see how the town would be brought to its knees by the armored cars and the bombed out fans and the gas that hangs on to every breeze. Now the army's installed by that old gas yard wall, and that damned barbed wire gets higher and higher. With their tanks and their guns, oh my God, what have they done for the town that I love so well? Now the music's gone, still they carry on, but their spirit is bruised, never broken. They cannot forget, still their hearts are set on tomorrow and peace once again.
Paddy Dinneen is laughing at the thought. We were thinking there that Ireland being so much in debt when they could afford the president, we thought we would have one ourselves in our committee, so...
I'll tell you what happened.
Is it clean?
I'll tell you now, I was up in the hill in the winter time, November, and I met Henny, and she was looking for her 3 cows. So the following day I met her again, and I asked her, she couldn't get them at that time, but I asked her then, no, did you get the following day? I asked her, did she get the cows? And she did, by God, so you look at her. No, to get them. Oh, she said the Blessed Virgin got them for me. Honest to God, no, that happened. Touching the face all the time. No. So when we're finishing now tonight, will you don't mind doing that? When we're finished now tonight, we'll say take it to the Rosy for her.
Now, Betty, you're in again.
Will we all agreeable?
Very God will.
It is a coincidence that Paddy Dinneen recommends a decade of the Rosary, because the first night that we did this here many years ago, we did finish off with the Rosary, as many of you might have seen it on video, because that was basically the way the Rambling House sessions finished. So my good friend with the pipe in the hat has suggested, and we have... Dan Monckton. We nearly forgot about you then with the Rosary.
I suppose I'll give you a bit of a yarn. Last night I was invited by some friends of mine to dine. Some lobster salad we did eat. We drank both beer and wine. We drank each other's health at times and wished each other luck. We drank and kept on drinking till the hour of 3 had struck. Then I bade my friends good morning. I went home and into bed, where I had a very funny dream. I dreamt that I was dead. The hour for repentance was then forever gone. I saw an angel far above, and I was beckoned on. We moved so fast, I imagined we moved on roller skates, when suddenly I found myself outside the golden gates. What brings you here? Said Peter. Don't you know that glutton sin? The bars you here forever, you cannot enter in. I passed along in silence and hung my head for shame, while Peter's clerk, who stood close by, wrote lost beneath my name. Book for the down train, no return ticket. Next comes on an old Italian, who, whilst he was alive, sold very bad bananas, as much as 3 for 5. He says, Petere, at last I come to thee. It's a fine shop I'd got, my goods were nice and strong. And just to let you see, Peter, I got an overcoat, but I forgot to put it on. You acted wise, said Peter, for well you ought to know, there's no need of an overcoat in the place you're going to go. So he'd stand and toe the line, just the same as me, book for the down train, no return ticket. Next came on a regular dandy, a boy who was never rude, who paraded the streets all night, was known as the dandy dude. He said, hello, Peter, old man, you smoke a cigarette? You don't smoke, Peter? Oh, that's too thin. Do, Peter, do, pray let me in. No, said Peter, why come here to me? This place wasn't made for monkeys, it was only made for man. So he just stand and toe the line, just the same as me. Book for the down train, no return ticket. The last to come was the best of all, the son of Earnside. He saluted Peter with a very gracious smile. He said, oh, holy Peter, I scarce can stand up straight. Will you go inside and tell that clerk to show me to my state? No, said Peter, your case must first be tried. I must see your passport before you get inside. Then hurry up, says Paddy, or for supper I'll be late. And as he spoke, he flung his old carbine right over the golden gate. Go fetch thy hat, said Peter, thou sacrilegious lout. But when Paddy got inside the gate, he locked St. Peter out. And shouting through the keyhole, "I master now," said he, "but I'll give you heaven, keys and all, if you'll set old Ireland free."
That was Dan Monckton. Dan is involved with us now for many years, and the late Ned Gary, who had been involved with myself at setting up of this committee at the outset, and they died a few years back. So Dan was elected president of our committee here some years ago, and we're delighted he's still here and hearty and with us. So we will now have a song from Pat Brosnan from a tea.
My bonny bark floats light and free across the surging foam, as it bears me far from Inishvale to seek a foreign home. A lonely exile driven neath misfortune's cruel frown. From my old home and pleasant friends in sweet King William's town. Whilst here upon the deck I stand and watch the surging foam, kind thoughts arise within my mind of the friends I've left at home, of moonlit eves and each happy hour, how fast the tears roll down. Still thinking of my friends so dear in sweet King William's town. Shall I no more gaze on that shore, or view the mountains high, or stray along Blackwater's banks, where I roamed as a boy, or watch the sun o'er Knocknabowl light up the heather brown, before it flings its farewell beams round sweet King William's town. I know not yet, but fondly hope, where'er my footsteps roam, to cherish deeply in my heart the thoughts and love of home. Now fades the shore, and on my soul the night winds sadly down. So God be with you, Ireland. Farewell, King William's town.
Our thanks to Pat Brosnan, one of the three wise men, and Paddy Foley is the third one of those, and he had an accident some time ago, and we sent him a speedy recovery. Hopefully he'll be back with us again shortly. Mickey Liston, another one of those, the second wise man. He's on the lookout for a wife as well, so if any of you have two calves to spare, we'll sell them and send them off to Liston. So Mickey, if you would come out here and you could get a bit of heat from the fire. There's a tradition going that the hair should in your own. Now if we could have a little bit of silence again, because we would hate to send you out to the hay shed on your own. Mickey Liston is a very shy man, and we're delighted he's with us again here tonight. Helen Naughton, you'll be for the hay shed as well, keep quiet. So if you would give a bit of quietness now, please, because it's difficult enough to perform, so we would hope that you would give the same respect that was given to you during the course of the night. So if we could have silence, please. Silence now, please. Thanks.
Well, now, I'll tell you this story about a man who used to come from Cork. That time, they used to always go around selling tea. They used to call him tea men. But this man came anywhere to West Limerick. He had a pony and car. There was no other way of transport, and he'd have his tea chest in the middle of the car. So if you wanted your pound of tea or half pound, whichever you would need, he'd fill it up through there and paper it and a little bit of a cod. There was nothing modern about it at that time. Oh by God, he always had houses to stay in. He'd always know his particular house. But this night turned very, very bad, and he wasn't able to get to his destination to be too far off. It was snowing very heavy. So by God, he spotted a light in this house. So then he knocked along, bought a hen. So he went down in along with his pony and car, and he knocked at the door. The woman came out, and he said, "Any hope?" He said, "You'll be able to let me in. It's an awful bad night," telling her his story. By God, he said, "I'll never survive this cold if I can't get in." By God, she said, "I won't refuse you. There's only myself and my husband, and you can sleep in the corner for the night. And you're lucky," she said, "we have a few spots torn up for the supper and a bit of meat and cabbage. We'll have a bit with us." So he was, poor fellow was awake with the hunger, of course. He sat out. They had a bit of a supper. And she said, "You can sleep now," she said, "in the corner." "Grand," she said. But by God, when he went into the corner, didn't he notice a lovely cotton cake laid up in the window, freshly baked? God, he said, "I'd love to have a cut of that." And the old man was very tight, kind of an old guy, and he said, "Oh God," he said, "you haven't the hope of getting a cut of that. It's in the morning, we use that when it gets cold." And so the woman said, "You'll have to put up with it." He said, she said, "He's a headstrong type of a man, you'll have to wait till morning." Right, he said he hadn't better to do, but the pair of them went to bed anyway, and they got when they were in bed. The old man, he wasn't a bit happy. He said the fellow had bought in the house above in the corner. He'd take him down to the bed with him. That's the woman won't have an awful problem with him. "No," he said, "I'll leave you inside the wall, I'll sleep in the middle, and we'll put him outside us." Well, by God, they brought him down anyway. Put the woman aside at the wall, your man in the middle, and left the travelling man outside. Well, by God, then went down grand that door for a few hours, but that did a bit of strong wind rise about 2 o'clock in the night. By God, if that did, if fellow was getting trouble, if it would take away a hay shed or something like that, and God knows he got up and he pulled the man out of the bed. He said, "Coming out with me." He said he wouldn't trust him alone, like, but by God, he took him out in the yard anyway, and it wasn't too bad. By God, there was no sheet of wire and taken away, so they came into bed again. He laid in the middle and your man outside as usual. But by God, about 5 o'clock in the morning, this violent hurricane came, a most awful storm. Christ didn't do it further. He got such a fright he forgot about your man. He jumped out of the bed and out in the yard. He wasn't gone out long from the woman turned over to your man and put her hands around him. Christ, she said, "Now's your chance." At that, he jumped out of the bed, flew up in the kitchen, they ate the cake and cutting bread. Thank God I have another one here now if I could think of it. So about this fella, he had a very small place. He wasn't making much money. He had around 7 cows. But whatever they'd come or go, he'd always try to have the money to pay the priest, pay his dues at the stations. But God knows, through the springtime, going was very hard, and by God, these stations came up. He hadn't a copper to pay the priest. So he was thinking, what in the world would he do? So by God, he said he'd sell a cow. That time he would want a great cow to make £2, and his station money would be £2. Well, by God, he was looking at the few cows anyway, and he said he'd have to sell the best one to make the £2. But he took her anyway to the fair in Knocknagree, a couple of days before the stations. He was asking £3 for her. He wasn't getting a bid. He kept coming down and down. By God, he couldn't get going anywhere, but out in the evening he sold her for 30 shillings. He had better to do. He came on home from the fair, and by God, he said, "Won't I be in an awful state? My neighbours will see me paying." They used to pay around the table that time. They'll consider I'm very badly off when I can't pay the priest in full, his dues. Anyway, I started paying the priest when the stations was over. Following day, I got your man, laid up his 30 shillings on the table. The priest looked at him. "By God, sir," he said, "you're back a bit in your money this time." I know if it must be gone wrong. "I'll tell you what's gone wrong," he said. "I took the best cow I had to Ballinagree. I meant to get £2 or £3 for her. I thought couldn't sell her under tube, they had to sell it for 30 shillings. And in the awful state of affairs, he said, yes, says, the priest, don't worry, man, he said, what our Lord sold for 30 pieces of silver. Well, then I guarantee you, he said, if she was in Ballinaglee yesterday, he would make half it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mickey. Now there's a big curtain cake sitting out in the window, so... so we will have a few tunes from Phelan. What were starting hours and finishing hours?
Well, the first time I ever worked was in the summer holidays at school time, and I got 10 bob a week, and a brother of mine was a general
10
worker.
shillings a week.
10 shillings a week, and there was a brother of mine, a general worker, in another farm, and he was only getting 15 shillings a week, so I was getting great wages in comparison with them.
When would that have been?
That was back when I was going to school, so that is 60 years ago.
60 years ago. And what time would you start working, and what kind of conditions and what kind of work did you do?
I would start off in the morning at 8 o'clock, work away all day at dinner time, and finish in the evening any time that, while you would have light, it was here, I think about it.
What time would you finish then at night time?
I would finish, you keep going as long as you,
Light?
You had light to finish the job over it.
And where else did you work then, or what other places?
Well, I worked in the buildings in Limerick and that kind of thing after.
You were saying outside in the harbour there a while ago, yourself and my good friend here with the cap and the pipe, we couldn't stop you. The people that lived along the hill, you said, where did they all come from? There was a big population.
Well, they were evicted out of a little small farm that was in Ballyneal. There was the owner of Ballyneal that time was a man by the name of Cox. He lived in England, but he had a man by the name of Cox that was an engineer in Limerick running the place for him. And it looked like as if he was keeping some of the tenants' money and saying to your man that he wouldn't able to get his Joe, so the man put it up for sale and that engineer bought it. He evicted all the people and they came up here onto the hill and built small little chalets and things.
Around the 1830s, 1840s.
Surely. And he modernised all the place then and knocked all the houses and shored all the fields with the stone that was off of the small houses. And they all had to come back and work for him again when he had it straightened out and made about 25 acre fields.
The reason they couldn't come to live in the hills was Commons land, was no man's land.
That's right, it was no man's land, the Black Hill.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank. John, will you give us a tune on the mouth organ? John won the Munster title there last year, I understand. Near the midnight hour, and we've never finished the session here the same days or nights as we started, so we don't intend finishing tonight and before 12 o'clock either. So Pat will play a few tunes for a selection, and Frank Dunne is going to give him a hand, I think. Pat will play a selection of tunes, and then Bat Collins will give you a few songs, and Betty Fitzgerald will. Or do you want to give out the rosary? Betty Fitz is our prayer group leader anywhere around here. to the midnight hour, so if it was Saturday night, now it's a bottle of holy water, you should be shaking. This was the first night actually that we hung up a clock that it kept going fairly accurately for the whole night. Oh yeah. Appropriately enough, the song that Bat is about to sing is called Hard Times, about famine times. And above my head, I suppose, I don't know why the famine would remind me to talk about Limerick hurling, but probably there's a touch of a famine indoors as well. The one under the clock is the 1973 winning team All-Ireland. And the one up in the top, which George will probably focus in on fairly close, if he gets a little bit of encouragement, it's the Limerick team of 1937 All-Ireland. I think it was 37, was it really? 36. 36 team that won the All-Ireland, we believe it to be anyway. It's Michael Mackey, Creegans and all of those lads. So it's quite a very old picture, that particular one. You're up close on that, George, you are. On May the 19th, I suppose we should tell you now, as we're about to talk about the famine. I'm waiting for you, Mickey Liston. It's like the priest up in the hills of Clare long ago saying mass, and the boys in the back were talking. So they continued for 5 minutes, and he stopped and never realised he had stopped looking down at him for that length of time. So Pat Collins will move on May the 19th. Those of you who might be interested, if you have an afternoon to spare, BBC television will be filming the houses that have been rebuilt over along the hill. May the 19th, on the afternoon, it is believed to be. It is one of the first places they will be filming. As you might have seen or heard, they were around some time back doing research on the locality, and this is one of the places where they have been happy with and decided that it was one of the unique places now that hasn't been touched or changed landscape since the time of the famine, with the fields, the potato ridges, the walks and the ruins of the houses, which there are many. So on Sunday next at 2:30 or 2:45 we will be leaving here and walking along the hillside. And on May the 19th, as I said, it is BBC filming. Sunday afternoon, then I got on at 2 o'clock, Kerry Radio, Sunday night at 9:30, and Cork Radio on Monday night at 10 o'clock. And we are delighted such a very nice number turned out, and I'm pleased that most of you kept fairly quiet and attentive for most of the time, which helped quite a lot, because if most of you were making as much noise as the small few which later in the night, it would have been a bit difficult. But all in all, it was quite satisfactory. So Bat Collins will play you a few tunes, and then Betty will give out, as a special request to Paddy Dinneen, the Decade of the Rosary.
Let us pause in life's trouble and count her many tears, for we all share our sorrows with the poor. It's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. It's the songs and sighs of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered long around my door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There's a fair young maiden who toils her life away, the warm heart whose better days are old. Though her voice should be silent, she's sighing all the day. Oh, hard times come again no more. It's the songs and sighs of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered long around my door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, we seek love and beauty, music light and gay. There are frail forms waiting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their bleeding faces say, oh, hard times come again no more. It's the songs, the sighs of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered long around my door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more. This one is a song written more recently by another Irishman, a man from Tralee. It's a Christy Hennessy one called Roll Back the Clouds. It's just a story about his life and the hard times he had in England. I've been waiting here for you to hear my song. But all you want to know, have I been on the radio? Who's the biggest star I've seen? What is my favorite scene? And if I get the job, would I sing on Mars? Yes, sir, I would sing on Mars. I'd play upon a star. I'd sing songs of the sun. And when my job was done, I would say I love you so. I'd like to play one more, just for all young lovers of the road. And tell me, sir, just how far I need to go to be a star. I have known my highs and lows. I've worked at every show. I've played in every town and brought some houses down. The critics never notice me. I'm not a star, you see. And yet I gave my heart to every bar. I would stand for hours and hours. I'd wade through rain and shine with my dancing shoes and my dreams on view. I'd walk upon an empty stage with one light in my face, to be told, don't phone us, but we'll phone you. And tell me, sir, just how far I need to go to be a star. Every day the same old scene, the same old happening. 100 miles offshore, and yet no place to go. And when your luck is all run out, you're asked to take a bow. Now you just stolen the show, now you're on your own. Yes, alright. We'll sing on Mars, my dream sea is me a star, is me the star. I am a star. I heard a young calling, Michael, they have taken you away, for you stole Trevelyan's corn, so the young might see the morn. Now a prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Lord, I'll feel that right, where once we watched the small free bird fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the eaves of the Rhine, by a lonely prison wall. I heard a young man calling. Nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I rebelled, they ran me down. Now you must raise our child, dignity. Lord, I believe that right, where once we watched the small free bird fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the eaves of the Rhine, by a lonely prison wall. She watched the last hour falling, as a prison ship sailed out against the sky, and she waited, hope and pray for her love in Bobby Bay. So lonely round the eaves of that Rhine. Lord, I believe of that Rhine, where once we watched the small river lie. Our love was on the wings, we had dreams and songs to sing. So lonely round the fields of Rhine. Yes, it's lonely round the fields of Rhine.
singer indeed. And our thanks to all of you for bearing with us for what was a very enjoyable evening. And hopefully we will see you all again in the Sunday next, possibly for a lot of you, and come summertime. So, as was in the olden days of the old rambling houses, it was traditional that people gatherings similar to those in way back indeed, for generations back, as Paddy, Dinneen there would tell us, of the names of the families, and they didn't have any entertainment indeed. There were large gatherings of people, thousands and thousands of them at Daniel O'Connell meetings in Rathkeale, Newcastle West, and also we have Parnell behind our back here, who also had large numbers and meetings in these parts as well. And many GA teams indeed were called after Parnell also during the time of the split. Our first rambling house, as we said, we went through the way it would have been done, and indeed tonight would have been very similar. And on that occasion, as would have been the case in all Catholic houses during those days, at the end of a night's entertainment like this, and probably went on later than this, they would have finished with a decade of the Rosary, and anyone who dared to stay with it, the litany as well. So we will hand it over to Betty.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Robert is up now for Annie Green to give her the light of heaven. Pardon?
Say it again.
We're often just taking the rosary for Annie Green to give her the light of heaven. That's all.
Betty, we'll let you finish off on the...
O my Jesus, forgive us our sins, save us from the fires of hell, lead all souls to heaven, especially those most in need of your mercy. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, hail our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee we cry, poor banished children of Eve, to thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping this valley of tears. Turn thy most gracious advocate thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile shown just the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary, pray for us, O Holy Mother of God, and may behold the promise of Christ. O God, whose only begotten Son, by his life, death, and resurrection, has purchased for us the rewards of eternal life, grant, we beseech thee, that our meditation on these mysteries of the most holy Rosary, Virgin Mary, we may imitate and contain and obtain with thy promise of saving Christ our Lord. Amen. May the divine assistance remain always with us, and the souls of the faithful departed, by the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Our thanks to you again, as I said tonight, was probably rather unusual in the fact that Paddy Dinneen here and Frank Dunne would have been last year with Henny Green about 35 years ago at the time she died, and Frank tells us that he wasn't here for 50 years. So many changes indeed have taken place all over the place in those times. If you look out the window, indeed you have Ahinish. Shannon Airport would have been very small. Ahinish didn't exist. Many things have happened in between, and for those people I suppose it's that little bit more touching, probably going back to those times with all of the changes, and many friends and neighbours have passed away since then. So our thanks to you, and a safe journey home, and delighted you all came, and our thanks to everybody who took part, and until we meet again, good night and God bless. Thank you.